Another Precon has just dropped from the latest set, Tarkir Dragonstorm, Sultai Arisen, helmed by Kotis. And well, that can only mean one thing, people. Let's do this. Kotis Sibsig champion is black, green, and a blue for a legendary creature zombie warrior that's a 3/3. Once during each of your turns, you may cast a creature spell from your graveyard by exiling 3 other cards from your graveyard in addition to paying its other costs. Whenever one or more creatures you control enter, if one or more of them entered from a graveyard or was cast from a graveyard, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Kotis. Now this is a very good commander for reanimation. He gives us the ability to reanimate any creature, so we know we want to be a creature heavy deck, but also every time we do this, he's going to get a lot bigger. So here we are looking at the deck. As you can see, we're running 36 creatures, 12 sorceries, 4 artifacts, 3 enchantments, and 7 instants. Creatures are obviously our main goal with Kotis because he cares about them being recast from the graveyard or entering the battlefield from the graveyard. So we need to make sure that we are doing that within this deck and not returning those to our hands. Goodbye Phyrexian Reclamation. Yeah, we've got lots and lots of good cards in this deck. We've got Hedron Crab, Stitcher's Supplier. Stealth Mill cards are really, really good in this deck because there is a lot of Delve cards. Yeah, we want to make sure that we have a stacked graveyard so we can cast these things with their Delve cost. Obviously, Treasure Cruise is 7 on the Delve. We've got to get rid of 7 cards in our graveyard. Every time we recast a creature from our graveyard, we're losing 3 cards. We need a stacked graveyard consistently. So Self-Mill is the name of the game. Obviously, we're running things like Millikin, which is great. Other things we need to be aware of is there is not any major sacrifice outlets. We do have Woe Strider, so we're not going to be going crazy on the infinite loop type of things. We do have a Gravecrawler if we want to add combos and go down those lines at some point though. It's nice to see Merrin of Clan Neltoth in here as well. Merrin had her own commander deck back in 2015. I run her as a commander. She's very, very strong. Nice to see a great way of reanimating creatures from your graveyard. I like as well in this deck, we've got Soaring and Arcane Signet and that's it. There's no more signets, there's no more talismans, anything like that. We're using creatures that then die and then we can recast using Kotos' ability to then get a benefit from them, allowing us to keep a creature on the board as a blocker as well as ramping more and more, which is absolutely great to see. Also, we're running things like Farseek. We do have Ramp and Grow and Cultivate, which are nice, but I would have preferred to see 3 Visits and Nature's Law, but can't have everything. Fantastic to see Life from the Loam in this deck as well, and I'm a good fan of the Afterlife from the Loam, the new one. I do believe with the right amount of self-mill, you will be able to consistently cast this for your just 3 black pips. Obviously, Living Death is a great endgame way of winning in this game, or in this deck. We do also have Wonder in terms of a win con because we have some Lord of Extinction and our Consuming Aberration. So when the late game hits and everybody's got a stacked graveyard, we can then mill over something like Wonder, play our Consuming Aberration, Lord of Extinction, and all of a sudden be swinging in some big, big damage. Obnixon the Fallen is another expensive card that just got a reprint, but it's more of a landfall-based type strategy, which lines up more with Tabal. Tabal, I would say you can't really run out of the box as the commander. I mean, you can, don't get me wrong, it's legal, but it's just the core of the deck doesn't synergize as well around Tabal's ability. It's more of a land matters type ability in my opinion. You don't necessarily have to do that, but you could do. Yeah, what else have we got in here? There's some nice removal, nothing fancy, nothing splashy. Harrow is in this deck, so if you are going to upgrade the lands and remove some of these basics, you'll also probably want to look at removing Harrow. But yeah, that's it. It's a really nice deck. I think the main thing that I'm going to do with this deck is make it a little bit more consistent. Yeah, we want to be able to do what Kotis is telling us to do, which is get stuff out of our graveyard back onto the battlefield without necessarily him being around. So we still want our deck to function with or without him. So we're going to really increase the amount of self-mill we have and also the amount of reanimation type effects that we have. So yeah, let's break this deck down into sections and go over all that now and show you what cards we're going to cut as well. So here we go, we've got 6 pieces of card advantage, 11 pieces of ramp, 19 pieces of reanimation, and 10 pieces of self-mill. We've got 7 pieces of removal, 3 cards that care about landfall, and 4 decent ways of winning the game with our big beaters like I mentioned with Wonder and the Living Death for the big play at the end. So yeah, I've found 20 cards that I'm willing to cut from this. So here they are. Phyrexian Reclamation, Dalthy Voidwalker, Grapple with the Past, Rampant Growth, Cultivate, Floral Evoker, Harrow, Amphinn Mountaineer, Jarrod, Steward of the Harvest, Tabal, Diviner of the Mist, Journey of the Midnight Sky, Obnixilus the Fallen, Casualties of War, Multani, Tasigur the Golden Fang, Avenger of Zendikar, Necromantic Selection, and Necropolis Fiend. Now, all of these cards, don't get me wrong, are good cards, but I don't feel like they synergize around this deck as much as they should. I definitely feel like there's 20 cards I could add that would give us more reanimation, more self-mill, allow us to really propagate what our deck wants to do and get a creature board state and then push out for the win through through combat damage. So yeah, I think these all are good cards. Taval, like I said, absolutely fantastic commander. I've got a whole deck coming out on him, so don't worry. Very, very strong commander. Do not get rid of these cards by any sense. Keep them, put them in a binder, keep them safe. And yeah, I just don't think they're the best for this deck and what we're going to do. If you disagree, just let me know in the comments below. So just some quick stats before we jump into all the cards we're going to add. As you can see, the mana curve is not too bad. It's a little high on the 4 and the 5 drops in my opinion, but it does teeter off nicely. Our average mana value of our deck is 3.63, so we need to be at least 7 mana before we can double spell. I'm a big fan of being able to cast multiple things each turn, so yeah, we do need to reduce this down quite a bit. Our mana values, or our average mana in our deck, is covered, but just barely. But yeah, we can like tweak this out, smooth it out a little bit. I'm not going to play around too much with the lands, so yeah, let's take it away. Just quickly before I tell you about all the cards I'm about to add to this deck, I want to say thank you for watching so far into this video. If you've got any suggestions of cards that you would add or cards that you would or wouldn't cut, drop them down in the comments below so everybody can see this and use it as a resource. If you're enjoying yourself, consider hitting that like button. And if you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button. It would really help out. So thank you very much. Let's get back on with it, shall we? So here is the deck. As you can see, we now have 8 pieces of card advantage, 1 landfall card, 9 pieces of ramp, 6 pieces of removal, 4 ways of winning the game, which are exactly the same, but we have gone big on the reanimate and self-mill type strategy. So anything that gets stuff out of our graveyard and anything that gets stuff into our graveyard. We want our deck to function with or without our commander. We still want to be able to do our thing no matter what. Yeah, come rain, come shine, we are going to make sure we are reanimating and self-milling. Right, what cards have we added? Haywire Might, Mental Note, Thought Scour, Unearth, Altar of Dementia, Animate Dead, but this all could just be reanimate. Animate Dead's just cheaper. Bramble Familiar, Cruel Sommerphage. We've got the Deranged Assistant, which is the same as our Millican that's already in the deck. Mesmeric Orb, which is a fantastic mill card, especially when you start pairing that with the Basalt Monolith. More on that later. We have got Persist, Ripples of Undeath, Stitch Together, Court of Cunning, which is another fantastic card because it introduces Monarch into the game, which helps speed things up and gets players interacting with each other, so it's less of a board stall. We've got Stinkweed Imp to give us some more dredge, so we can now dredge as well as delve, which means we can fill our graveyards a lot quicker. We have got Dread Return, Whip of Erebos. This gives us a lot more sustainability in the game by creeping our creatures a lifelink, so we can attack out a little bit more and not worry about the crackback so much. Archpriest of the Shadows, which is just a great repeatable way of reanimating stuff from the graveyard. Golgari, Grave Troll. Yeah, Dredge 6, absolutely fantastic. Has counters on it. There is a kind of a bit of a counter sub-theme with this deck, but anyway. And then Incarnation Technique, more ways of self-milling and returning stuff from graveyard directly to the battlefield. So here we are after the upgrades. As you can see, our mana base is a little bit more covered. We've got 22% blue covered by 35, 52% by 59, 35 by 38. Still a little tight, but it's not as bad. Average mana value of our deck is now 3.03, so we've reduced it by 0.6, which is nice because that means we now only need 6 or more mana rather than the 7, which I know doesn't really sound like a big difference, but when you get into turn 6 and 7, you've only got 37 lands in your deck. You are probably going to be missing your land drop, so you need to make sure you have ramped sufficiently in the early game. The 5-drop slot is still a little bit high if I'm being really picky. I would love to bring this down, maybe add some more 1-drops, but I don't really want to change any more than 20 cards. So yeah, if you're looking to take this deck even further, maybe consider things like your Caustic Caterpillar and the new fungus, I think it was from Dustmon, stuff like that, which are creatures which you can basically pay a mana, sacrifice them, and then recast them with Kotis. So it gives you more interaction, removal, and brings it down to that lower end of the curve. So you've got a bit more interaction with your opponents and also a more aggressive curve in the early game. So yeah, not a bad precon at all once upgraded. So keeping it really quite simple here with cards that you might want to consider. Scavenger's Talent. Yeah, if you want to go into the more sacrificing loops and things like that, Scavenger's Talent could be a fantastic include for you. Basalt Monolith and Phyrexian Altar, just great if you want to start going down those combo lines. As I mentioned, Basalt Monolith and Mesmeric Orb, because you can basically tap and untap Basalt Monolith, constantly milling yourself as much as you need to if you're looking for a specific card. Phyrexian Altar, obviously, you sacrifice a creature, you add 1 mana. You use that with your Gravecrawler and you can just basically get it in and out the graveyard over and over and over and over again. So if you've got a payoff like a Blood Artist, things like that, there you go, you've got another win. Caustic Caterpillar and Insidious Fungus. These are the ones I mentioned about lowering your curve a little bit more, giving yourself a little bit more interaction. Oro is just another fantastic card. If you are on more of the Taval lands matter strategy, maybe it synergizes a little bit more with you there, but you know, it's still a strong card. It dominated standard when it came out. Mikaeus the Unhallowed, just a fantastic reanimation target. Same with Muldrotha, allows us to get anything back from the graveyard, recasting stuff. So yeah, some great choices of things you could run. Other things I would consider are your basically your MDFCs from Modern Horizons 3, your Balagad Recovery, Fellow Profane, stuff like that. Take your land count up to 40, including those, say, 3 MDFCs, and that'll really help your deck out a lot because it'll give you a bit more interaction, as well as making sure you can consistently hit your land drops to get you to that 6-7 mana that you need to be able to double spell. Overall, I think this is an absolute fantastic deck, both out the box and upgraded, obviously. If you want to take this deck even further, you could start to look at some combo loops, as I mentioned with the cards in the considering section. And then, yeah, just really decide on how you want to hone it. Do you want to start doing infinite loop type strategies with stuff going in and out the graveyard? Because if you do, you might want to then change some of the cards in there. Maybe, I guess one of the most common ways of winning from that type of stuff is with like an aristocrat style strategy, so Comrade, stuff like that. If you don't want to do that type of stuff and you want to keep it with like having a big creature and a big board state, you could look at some other ways of giving your creatures trample, evasion, flying, stuff like that, so you can make sure you can always get through for that damage. If you wanted to play on hard mode, you could make Kotis commander damage and just reanimate stuff, make Kotis big, protect it using your Swiftfoot, your Lightning Greaves, anything like that, and then swing through with a big Kotis. You have to give something like maybe like Trailblazer's boots or something like that, or some equipment that gives it some form of evasion, because that's the big downside of Kotis at the minute, is it doesn't have any form of evasion, even though it does become pretty big pretty quick. So yeah, absolutely solid deck. If you want to see more Precon upgrades, especially from the Tarkir Dragonstorm stuff, I will have a lovely playlist listed up here, so you can go ahead and watch those. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate all your support as always, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye for now.